There is a place on the highway between Las Vegas and Phoenix called Nothing, Arizona. That's its real name. And it sits in the middle of the deadliest stretch of a road that a national study named the single most dangerous highway in America. Not one of the most dangerous. The most. More than 90 people were killed in 6 years on the route almost everyone takes between the two cities. A drive millions of people make without a second thought. Most of them die on one empty stretch of 2-lane desert in the space of a single second, when a moment of impatience puts 2 cars in the same lane at once. Out here, there is no cell signal, no lights. And if you go off the road after dark, the nearest ambulance can be half an hour away, assuming anyone even knows you are out there to come looking. That's the trap. The road is flat and straight and quiet, and it lulls you until you stop believing anything can happen to you. And then it takes everything at once. We'll come back to nothing. Remember it. Because to understand why the drive between 2 of the biggest tourist cities in America is also one of the deadliest roads in the country, you have to understand what this highway is, where it came from, and why the most dangerous part of it is the part that looks the calmest. The road is US Route 93. If you have ever driven from Las Vegas to Phoenix or Phoenix to Las Vegas, you have almost certainly been on it, because it is the main link between the two cities, roughly 300 miles of desert connecting the neon of the Strip to the sprawl of the Valley of the Sun. Millions of people make this drive. Gamblers, tourists, truckers, families on road trips, bachelor parties, people moving between 2 of the fastest-growing metro areas in the United States. On a Friday afternoon, the road is a river of cars heading north to Vegas. On a Sunday, it's the same river running back south, hungover and broke and in a hurry to get home. And here is the thing that almost none of those people know. The road they're driving was, for most of its life, one of the most notorious bottlenecks in the American West, because for 75 years, the only way US Route 93 crossed the Colorado River was over the top of Hoover Dam. Think about that. The main highway between Las Vegas and Phoenix ran directly across the crest of one of the largest concrete structures ever built. When US Route 93 was extended south in 1935, the brand new Hoover Dam, then called Boulder Dam, was the crossing. 2 narrow lanes, one in each direction, threading across the top of the dam 700 feet above the river, with hairpin turns and blind curves on the approaches on both the Nevada and the Arizona sides. As early as the 1960s, officials were already saying out loud that the route was dangerous and could not handle the traffic. But it stayed that way for decades. 14,000 vehicles a day crawling across the dam, sharing the road with tourists who were wandering back and forth on foot to look at the view, stopping traffic dead while they took photographs of the drop. And then September 11th happened, and the dam crossing stopped being just a traffic problem and became a national security one. After the attacks, the government looked at Hoover Dam the way it was suddenly looking at every piece of critical infrastructure in the country, and it saw a nightmare. A truck full of explosives, driven onto the top of the dam, detonated in the right place, could theoretically breach it. And if Hoover Dam failed, it would release the water of Lake Mead, trillions of gallons, down the Colorado River in a wall that would obliterate everything downstream. So they closed the dam to truck traffic entirely. Trucks were forced onto a detour more than 100 miles long. Checkpoints went up on the approaches, and getting through them could add 3 hours or more to the drive into and out of Las Vegas on a busy weekend. The most direct route between 2 major American cities had a security choke point sitting right in the middle of it. The fix took most of a decade and $250 million. About 1,500 feet downstream from the dam, engineers built a bridge across Black Canyon, a single concrete arch, the widest in the Western Hemisphere, carrying the road 890 feet above the Colorado River. It opened in 2010. It is the highest road bridge in the United States, and they named it the Mike O'Callahan Pat Tillman Memorial Bridge, after a governor of Nevada and after Pat Tillman, the professional football player who walked away from the Arizona Cardinals to enlist in the Army after September 11th and was killed in Afghanistan by friendly fire in 2004. Most people who drive across it never even see the dam. The canyon walls and the safety barriers block the view, and most of them have no idea they are crossing a memorial to a man who gave up a fortune to serve and died for it. So that's the road. Born on the crest of a dam, rerouted by a terrorist attack, carried now on the tallest bridge in the country. It's a genuinely remarkable piece of infrastructure. And none of it, not the dam, not the bridge, not the checkpoints, is what kills people on US Route 93. What kills people is the empty part, the quiet part, the part that looks completely safe. Once you're across the river and past Kingman, the old Route 66 town that serves as the northern gateway to this stretch. U.S. Route 93 straightens out and runs southeast through some of the emptiest country in Arizona, down toward Wickenburg and eventually Phoenix. The state even gave part of it a pretty name. Between Wickenburg and Kingman, it's officially the Joshua Forest Scenic Parkway, and it earns it, running through stands of Joshua trees and open high desert that glow gold in the late light. It passes near Wickiup, a wide spot in the road that bills itself as the rattlesnake capital of Arizona, and past nothing, and through 100 miles of country where you can drive for long stretches and see almost no sign of another human being. It is a beautiful drive. That's part of the danger, too. Beauty lowers your guard, and for a long stretch of that run, the road narrows to 2 lanes, 1 lane in each direction, no divider, no barrier, nothing between you and the cars coming the other way, but a painted yellow line and the assumption that everyone is going to stay on their own side of it. That assumption is where people die. In 2018, a consumer research group analyzed federal crash data for every highway in the country, the number of people killed, the rate of fatal crashes, how long it took emergency services to arrive, and US 93 came out on top, the most dangerous highway in America. Between 2010 and 2016, 70 separate fatal crashes on this road killed more than 90 people. And when the local news dug into the numbers a few years later, focusing on the worst stretch, the roughly 80 miles between Wickenburg and Wickiup, they found 35 people killed in just 6 years, from 2015 to 2020. Now, here is the part that matters. The part that most people get wrong. And the part I want to be honest with you about. Because the truth is more useful than the myth. People assume a road this deadly must be treacherous to drive. Tight curves, cliffs, ice. It isn't. Most of US 93 is wide, straight, and easy. That's the problem. The danger isn't the road. It's what the road does to the people on it. The single most common way to die on US 93 is a head-on collision. And head-on collisions on a 2-lane highway almost always come from the same source, someone trying to pass. You're behind a slow truck, and the road ahead looks empty, and you've been driving for 2 hours through country where you can see for miles, and your patience runs out. So you pull into the oncoming lane to get around him, and most of the time, nothing happens. You pass, you pull back in, you never think about it again. But the desert plays tricks with distance. That empty road ahead of you isn't as empty as it looks. The car coming toward you is farther away than you think, or closer than you think, or hidden for a moment behind a rise. And by the time you both understand what's about to happen, you are two vehicles in the same lane, closing on each other at a combined speed of 140 miles per hour with nowhere to go. The firefighters who work this road will tell you the pattern flat out. Most of the wrecks they respond to happen at or within a mile of a passing zone. Impatience. That's the killer, not the road, the decision to pass on it. And now factor in what else is on this road. US Route 93 isn't just a tourist route. It's one of the most important trucking corridors in the Southwest, a critical trade route that carries something like 2,000 heavy trucks a day between the deserts and the cities, semis hauling freight up from Mexico and across the whole region. So the slow vehicle you're stuck behind on that two-lane stretch is very often a fully loaded 18-wheeler, 60 or 80 feet long, and getting around it means spending that much longer in the oncoming lane, committed, exposed, with that much less room for error. And when a passenger car meets a semi head-on, the physics are not survivable in the way a car-to-car crash sometimes is. The truck barely slows down. That's not hypothetical. In July of 2016, closer to the Las Vegas end of the road near Kingman, a crash involving a Dallas Cowboys bus killed 4 people. 4 lives, gone on the drive between 2 cities that most people make without a second thought. It is the kind of crash that makes the local news for a day and then disappears. And it is the kind of crash that happens on this road with a regularity that earned it its terrible ranking. And this is where the night comes in. In daylight, a good driver has a chance. You can see the oncoming car. You can judge roughly whether you have room. You can see the driver ahead of you drifting, or the truck's brake lights, or the shimmer of a vehicle cresting a hill a mile off. The desert is open, and openness in the day is a kind of mercy. It gives you time. At night, all of that is gone. On an unlit 2-lane highway in the middle of the Arizona desert, you cannot see a car drifting across the center line until its headlights are already swinging toward you. You cannot judge distance. A pair of headlights a mile away and a pair of headlights a quarter mile away look almost identical in the dark, right up until the moment they do not. Your eyes have almost nothing to work with. No roadside detail. No landscape. No sense of how fast the gap is closing. Just 2 white points of light in a black void, and a brain that is genuinely bad at telling how far away they are. You get a second, maybe 2, and a second is not enough. Add to that the specific traffic this road carries at night. People driving home from Las Vegas, tired, sometimes drunk, sometimes both. At the end of a weekend they can't afford, pushing to get back to Phoenix before morning. A driver who's been awake too long has slower reactions and worse judgment, and the research is blunt about it. Being awake for enough hours impairs you about as much as being legally drunk does. Now, put that driver on a dark 2-lane road behind a slow truck, impatient, with 100 miles still to go. Add the cattle and the deer that wander onto the warm asphalt after the sun goes down and the pavement holds the day's heat. Add the simple fact that if it all goes wrong out here at 2 in the morning, there is no one around to see it happen and no signal to call for help. Night doesn't cause the crashes. Impatience does. But night takes away every single thing that might have let you survive one. That's why you don't drive this road in the dark if you can help it. Not because the darkness reaches out and grabs you, because the darkness removes your margin, and on US 93 margin is the only thing keeping you alive. I want to tell you about some of the people this road has killed, because the statistics are easy to let slide past you, and the people are not. In 2017, a woman named Veronica Wood was driving home to Goodyear, Arizona, a suburb on the west side of Phoenix. She never made it. She died on US 93, one of the names the investigators would later attach to the deadliest highway statistics. In 2019, a UPS driver named Arthur Perez was killed on the same road. A man doing his job on a route he had probably driven 100 times. And in 2020, two brothers, Jackson and Cameron Clark, 11 years old and 6 years old, were killed on US 93 while on a family road trip. 11 and 6. A family in a car, going somewhere together, the way millions of families use this road every year. And the road took the two youngest of them. Nearly all of the fatal crashes in 2020 happened on a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, the weekend, the Vegas run days. And almost every one of them came from the same cause the firefighters keep describing: a driver crossing left of center or making an unsafe pass and meeting someone coming the other way. The same mistake, over and over on the same stretch of road, killing UPS drivers and mothers and 11-year-old boys because the desert looked empty and someone decided they could not wait. The response times make all of it worse. US 93 doesn't just have a lot of fatal crashes, it has some of the longest waits for emergency help of any highway in America. On average, an injured person on this road waits 21 minutes for help to arrive. 21 minutes. And that's the average. Out at the lonely middle of the road, near a spot at milepost 148, the nearest medical help is a fire station in the town of Baghdad, a nearly 30-minute drive away down a winding side highway. There's a concept in emergency medicine called the golden hour, the idea that a badly injured person's best chance of survival is treatment within about 60 minutes of the trauma. Internal bleeding, shock, a collapsed lung. These are things that are survivable if a trauma team gets to you in time, and fatal if they don't. On a city street, that clock is barely a factor. The ambulance is minutes away. On US 93, the clock is the whole problem. If it takes 20 or 30 minutes just for the first responder to physically reach you, and then more time to stabilize you, and then a long drive or a helicopter flight to an actual trauma center in Phoenix or Las Vegas, you can burn through most of that hour before you ever reach a surgeon. The distance itself is lethal. A crash that would be survivable in a city becomes fatal in the desert, not because it's worse, but because help is farther away. 21 minutes. And that's the average. Out here, in the dark, near a place called Nothing, you crash and you wait. Bleeding. Alone. In the silence. While the person who's going to save you is still half an hour away and doesn't even know yet that you're out there. And the spot at milepost 148, the loneliest, most isolated point on the whole dangerous run, the place where help is furthest away, has a name. Remember Nothing? Nothing. Arizona was founded in 1977 by a miner named Richard Buddy Kenworthy, who settled a wide spot in the road about 120 miles northwest of Phoenix, and according to the locals, named it Nothing, because a friend looked around at the empty desert and said there ain't nothing out there. The joke stuck. Kenworthy built a gas station and a little store, and at various points the place had a bar called the Tain't Much Ado, a taco stand, a garage. At its absolute peak, Nothing, Arizona had a population of 4. Some years, maybe 9. It caught a trickle of the gamblers and travelers moving between Phoenix and Las Vegas, people who needed gas, or a cold drink, or a bathroom, on the long empty run through the middle of the desert. And somebody, at some point, put up a sign. The sign at Nothing read like this: Town of Nothing, Arizona. Founded in 1977. Elevation 3,269 feet. The staunch citizens of Nothing are full of hope, faith, and believe in the work ethic. Through the years, these dedicated people had faith in nothing, hoped for nothing, worked at nothing, for nothing. It's a joke, obviously. It's a guy in the desert having fun with a ridiculous name. But read it again and it stops being funny, because it turns out to be the truest thing anyone ever wrote about this road. They had faith in nothing. They hoped for nothing. They worked at nothing for nothing. Buddy Kenworthy gave it everything he had. A fire destroyed his businesses in 1988, and he rebuilt. He held on for almost 30 years. And then, in 2005, he moved on, and nothing emptied out. And by 2008, the gas station was collapsing in on itself. People kept trying to make nothing into something anyway. In 2009, a man showed up and started selling pizzas out of a portable oven, talking about reopening the store and building a place for RVs to park, hoping to catch the Vegas to Phoenix traffic the way Kenworthy had. It lasted about 2 years. By 2011, it was abandoned a second time, the windows boarded over. In 2016, a real estate company even ran a Father's Day publicity stunt, giving people free 24-hour leases to a piece of nothing, which is a pretty good joke and also, somehow, the most anyone had done with the place in a decade. None of it took. You cannot build something out of nothing, it turns out, no matter how many times you try. The desert always takes it back. Today, all that's left is a crumbling building, a couple of foundations, a graffiti-covered sign, and that state-installed call box, standing there for the drivers who break down at the one point on this road where they are most completely alone. The only thing at nothing that still reliably works is a restroom, which travelers use and keep moving. Nobody stays. Nobody has stayed in 20 years. That's what sits at the deadly center of the most dangerous highway in America. A ghost town named Nothing, a monument to a man who bet everything on an empty patch of desert and lost, keeping watch over a stretch of road where the desert keeps winning the same bet against everyone who underestimates it. Because that's the real story of US 93. It isn't a story about a treacherous road. It's a story about a landscape that looks harmless and isn't, and about the specific human mistake: impatience. The refusal to wait 30 seconds behind a truck that the landscape punishes with death. The road is straight. The road is wide. The road in the daylight with a patient driver is one of the easiest and most beautiful drives in the Southwest. The open desert, the distant mountains, the enormous sky. And then someone gets impatient, or the sun goes down, or both. And the same emptiness that felt so peaceful becomes the reason there's no one around to help, and no way to call for anyone who could. They spent more than $500 million widening most of US Route 93, turning the old 2-lane sections into a 4-lane divided highway with a barrier down the middle. Because a barrier is the one thing that actually stops a head-on collision. And where they have done it, the head-ons have dropped. But about 34 miles of 2-lane road remained, and the firefighters noticed something grimly ironic. On the new, wider, straighter sections, the crashes did not stop. They just changed. Fewer head-ons, more rollovers, because the better road let people drive faster. The improvement is real, but the desert and the impatience and the speed keep finding new ways to collect. One day the whole thing will be Interstate 11. A full divided freeway from Phoenix to Las Vegas, and the 2-lane killing stretches will be gone, and US Route 93 will become just another number that used to mean something. That's the strange arc of almost every road in this part of the country. It starts as a lifeline, it earns a body count, and eventually it gets tamed into something safe and forgettable. But that day isn't here yet. Right now, tonight, there are people driving that road in the dark. At this exact moment, headlights strung out across 100 miles of empty desert. Some of them are patient, and they'll get home. And some of them are behind a slow truck on a 2-lane stretch with 100 miles still to go and a headache and a long weekend behind them. And they're going to glance at that empty-looking road ahead and decide they can make it around before the oncoming car arrives. Most of them will be right. That's the cruelest part of how this road works. The ODDS are on your side almost every single time, which is exactly why people keep taking them. You pass 100 trucks on 100 empty stretches and nothing happens, and each time it teaches you that the road is safe, that your judgment is good, that the desert is exactly as harmless as it looks. And then one time, the car you didn't see is where you didn't expect it, and 100 safe passes don't matter at all. There is a place on the highway between Las Vegas and Phoenix called Nothing, Arizona. Its population is 0. Its gas station is a ruin. Its sign is faded and shot through and barely readable now, but the words are still there if you stop and look. They had faith in nothing, hoped for nothing, worked at nothing, for nothing. And a few feet away stands a steel call box on a post, waiting in the dark for the next driver who thought the desert was empty and safe, and found out at the last second that empty and safe are not the same thing. If you drive this road, and you will, everyone does, then drive it in the daylight if you can. And when you come up behind a slow truck on the 2-lane stretch, with the desert stretching out flat and open and inviting in front of you, and every instinct tells you the road ahead is clear, wait. Just wait. The 30 seconds you save are not worth what this road will take from you if you are wrong. The people in nothing had faith in nothing. Don't have faith in an empty road. It is never quite as empty as it looks.